Super Smash Bros. Brawl. One of gaming's biggest crossovers gets a little bigger. The game that left a lasting impact on so many people. Whether it was good or bad, however, it's up for debate. On this leg of our Smash Game Marathon, we're talking about the game that reached a lot of Wiis back in the 2000s. Brawl received features and modes that became people's favorite parts of the series, but it also gained features that deterred people from the game altogether. So we gotta see, is Brawl a game that's worth the hate that it gets, or is it better than some people think? Before we tackle all of that, we gotta get some history out of the way. So, what are we waiting for? E3 2005. Nintendo was providing details on their new and upcoming console, the Nintendo Revolution, which was later titled the Wii. A new console is usually pretty exciting. I mean, what can be better than that? Well, Satoru Iwata decided to answer that question and announced that a new Smash game was in development for the Wii. Considering how popular Smash was getting, this must have been a huge surprise for everyone. I mean, just as Sakurai, even he didn't see this coming. Iwata asked him later on if he would return to the director role, or something close to that, for the new game. He told Sakurai he announced it at the press conference because Nintendo was getting ready to launch their Wi-Fi connection service, and announcing a new Smash game with online play would show the capabilities of it. Sakurai wasn't sure at first, since at this point, he was no longer at HAL Labs and he was doing freelance work through Sora Limited and already had projects lined up. But if he turned down the offer, the game would have basically been a port of Melee with online support. So Sakurai decided to step in so there would be a true sequel. HAL Laboratory wouldn't be the developers this time around. A completely new team was formed that featured developers from K-Mart, and they started development in October. The reveal trailer for the new Smash game, now being called Super Smash Bros. Brawl, was played at E3 2006, and naturally, it looks like an upgrade from the previous title. While people impatiently waited for Brawl, they checked the Smash Bros. DOJO website for updates. Some posts weren't that interesting, but there was one that blew people's minds back in the day, but we'll get to that later. After years of anticipation and delays, the game came out in 2008.
We would like to play.
Introducing the ultimate Wii Throwdown. Gather your friends, invite the whole family as the biggest characters in gaming history come together for the brawl to end them all. Super Smash Bros. Brawl. Rated T for teen.
Millions of people were having fun experiencing Brawl at launch. Where was I during all of this? I don't know, probably playing Toon Hoops on the Country Network website or something. To the surprise of nobody, I got into Brawl in a slightly weird way. Brawl was the second Smash game I ever played. After getting introduced to the series after the release of Smash 4, I wanted to play so much more of it, but I didn't own either game. I was limited to playing my friend's copy of Smash Wii U whenever we hung out. Growing up poor made it difficult to play new games. I was barely able to get a used DSi that Christmas. No way I was getting a current gen console. Luckily, another friend of mine had the hookup. He had an extra copy of Super Smash Bros. Brawl. Not exactly Smash 4, but I didn't mind. Can't be that much different, right? You can probably imagine how confused I was when I tried to use Rock Smash with Charizard and suddenly Squirtle appeared. My sister and I spent a lot of time playing this game back then. Luckily, that means everything's unlocked this time around. Don't have to go through the Melee gauntlet I went through last time. However, I'll also be playing the game on Wii U when I can, so things look a little nicer. With that out of the way, let's load this thing up. Ow. Man, where do I begin with this intro? You get a sense of the adventure waiting for you in the story mode, the bigger possibilities with the regular battles, some of the new characters you can unlock, the shot of every character staring off to the horizon that updates as you complete the roster, and the epic orchestra with the choir? Would you believe me if I told you that I used to hate this intro? Hold up, listen. I used to hear this intro a lot, so I eventually got sick of it, but after a few years, I came back to the game and I remembered how amazing the intro was. I just needed a fresh set of ears. But yeah, if it wasn't clear, this is my favorite intro in the entire series. I'll admit, there is a bit of nostalgia at play here, but I bet I'm not alone on that. Melee's will always be a close second, but you just can't beat that music. Okay, I gotta stop. Anyways, main menu. Brawl's menu lays everything out in a nice and simple manner. There's more going on in this game, but it does a good job of showing you where to go depending on what you're trying to do. While I personally like Melee's menu more, the design of Brawl's menu is pretty good, a natural upgrade from Melee's. Good thing considering we haven't been able to escape this layout in future games. Even previous games by Sakurai aren't void of this format. Once we hop into Brawl, we get to see the game's roster. There are 39 characters in total with 21 returners and an impressive 18 newcomers. Unfortunately, this is the first Smash game where they cut characters. The cut characters are Mewtwo, Dr. Mario, Young Link, and Pichu. Don't worry everyone, my boy Greg Heffley made the cut! The long list of newcomers include starter characters Diddy Kong, Pit, Meta Knight, Squirtle, Ivysaur, and Charizard as a 3-for-1 deal under the Pokemon Trader, Ike, King Dedede, Wario, Olimar, and Lucas. And the unlockable characters Lucario, Rob, Toon Link, Wolf, Snake, and Sonic. Those last two are pretty notable since they are the first third-party reps ever. Basically, they're the first fighters in Smash from games not owned by Nintendo. Snake was revealed through the E3 trailer, and Sonic was revealed through a post on the Smash Dojo. It's really funny to think about how one of the more requested fighters and one of gaming's most prolific characters had his reveal trailer up on some website. No live stream, just a simple blog post. I bet people lost their minds when they saw the news. Probably to the point where they didn't notice that the game was being delayed. Side note, it's crazy to think the same year Sonic was announced to cross paths with Mario, they were announced to cross paths again in Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games. Unfortunately, the crossover has met its end. I'm gonna miss those games. Well, mainly Vancouver, but still. We got some notable characters this time around, like I didn't even mention the first fighter not based on an actual character but a toy. I remember having more negative feelings towards this roster. I remember not liking Snake or Pit, but overall I think I was just annoyed that there were less people to use than Smash 4. Looking at the game now, the roster isn't that bad. Except for Pit, he's been trash since day one. Now, I feel like there's something very important that I'm forgetting to mention. I'm sure it'll come to me later. There are 31 stages in this game, with 10 stages coming back from Melee. The design of some of these stages look great. It feels like they're getting more and more detailed with each game. Some of these stages like Battleship Halberd, Smashville, and Pixel Chat I love to come back to. But I feel like a number of these stages leave a lot to be desired. I know this comes down to personal taste, but some of you gotta agree that a few of these are not fun to play on. Who out here trying to go 1v1 on 75M? Or Hand and Bow? Unfortunately, Brawl has a number of the weakest stages in the franchise. Let's talk about Brawl's moveset. We'll get back to that. The basics of Brawl are pretty similar to Melee, but this time around, changes were made to take the competitive edge off. Sakurai did not like how Melee became very competitive and had a high skill cap, so with Brawl, he decided to make it more approachable to casuals. Everyone moves slower, everything feels floatier, and tech from Melee like wave dashing aren't really possible anymore. In fact, Brawl has the opposite of a wave dash. There's a random chance for you to trip, and it's one of the dumbest mechanics I've ever seen in a video game. I really don't understand how this can be enjoyable, even on a casual level. It's stuff like this that makes Brawl annoying to return to for me. I can quickly get used to it considering how much I played Brawl years ago, but after recently playing Melee and getting used to those controls, I may prefer how it plays over Brawl. I prefer the moveset of certain characters in this game, and some moves are easier to pull off. But I don't know if that's enough for me to justify sitting through matches when I don't like how the mechanics work. One reason why I would play Brawl over Melee are the multiple controller options. Again, the game is heavily aimed towards a casual crowd, so they make the ability to play the game very accessible, which I really have to commend the game on. You can play it with a GameCube controller like last game, a Wiimote and nunchuck, a Wii Classic controller or Classic Pro controller, or a sideways Wiimote. I'll probably lose all credibility from the statement, but I did originally play Brawl with the sideways Wiimote. My sister stuck with the nunchuck setup and we didn't own a second nunchuck or the other controllers for a while, so I just dealt with it. But after playing a ton of Smash 4, I realized that I made a big mistake, eventually got a GameCube controller and never looked back. Some other changes include crawling for certain characters, the introduction of footstools, swimming if the stages have water, and every character now has 3 taunts. And some returners have slight updates to match recent game releases, like how Mario uses Flood from Sunshine as his down B, and the Zelda characters have designs based on Twilight Princess. Okay, don't think I can hold off anymore. A fun little quirk about Brawl is that it's incredibly unbalanced. Some characters are trash, sure, but certain characters have some huge exploits, like the chain grab certain characters can pull off, Omar's super disjointed moves he can do through his Pikmin, and a certain character who breaks the entire game. In the right hands, that is. Meta Knight has practically no end lag on anything, multiple jumps, and an insane combo game. It's no wonder Bro had a song written after him. If you play as Meta Knight, it's pretty much a guaranteed win. You know, unless you're me and not know that he's broken but play him cause he seems cool and still lose half of your matches anyway. He's so nuts of a fighter, he was banned at several tournaments so people who mained other characters could actually play the game. It's amazing that even after Melee, we still have stuff like this. To add to the casual craziness, there are a number of new items in Brawl. The Dragoon gives you a chance to snipe someone once you've collected all 3 pieces. Pretty cool item, but it can be obnoxious since items will stop spawning until all 3 Dragoon pieces have been collected. Curry gives you Fire Breath. The Golden Hammer is a rare version of the hammer. You can even float with the stupid thing if you spam A. The Cracker Launcher shoots a bunch of fireworks. It's a bit awkward to control, but the blasts are stupid strong. Gooey Bombs are bombs you can stick onto people, but be careful because if you cross their path, it's stuck on you. The Deku Nut makes people dizzy. A Freezy traps a player in ice. The Smoke Ball makes smoke. That's it. The Pitfall can trap someone in the ground or send them straight down if hit in the air. In other words, a meteor smash. Hotheads travel along the surface they're thrown on and hit people along the way. While not new, we have the return of regular bumpers. The spring is what you would expect. You can bounce on it or throw it. If you throw a Unira down, I honestly have never said this out loud, so I'm not sure, spikes will come out and can hit someone if they interact with it. Smash attacking a soccer ball will send it flying and hit anyone in its path with some pretty strong knockback. Only found in Team Brawl, the Team Healer heals a team member that you throw it to, or it damages an opposing team member you throw it to. The Franklin badge reflects projectiles when you wear it. Also not new, but they improved the screw attack by not making it a throwable item. It's easier to use in combos. The Blast Box is, well, a box that will make a blast. The Banana Peel makes people slip. The Smart Bomb is another bomb that has a wide radius and lingers for a few seconds. The Rolling Crate is just a crate on wheels. The Sandbag will spawn items like food whenever you punch it. The Timer will slow your opponent down, or yourself if you're unlucky. Lightning will make everyone else shrink, just like in Mario Kart. Here is where we first get assist trophies. They can help you with the battle, even the playing field, or make the game tough for everyone. We get to see pre-Smash 4 Little Mac, he's seen better days, And we get to have our ears chewed off by some mole and be reminded that we can just play another Smash game. Finally, we have the Smash Ball, one of the biggest additions to Brawl. You attack it several times to break it and release your final smash. After not appearing in the first two games due to time and hardware limitations, characters finally have a finishing move in this fighting game. You remember when I was talking about how unbalanced this game is?
Watch the power.
Guess what? I remember getting tilted when some of these final smashes were used on me, and even more tilted when I had to use some of the bad ones. I'd be lying to myself if I said I didn't miss some of these for how insane they were. But I'm glad final smashes have evolved from this. I don't miss Dancing Luigi, Waddle Dees that don't do anything, Big Flies, and Dance Dance Donkey Mix. Let's get away from Jungle Beat over here and talk some music. There is a lot more music in this game than the previous entry. A total of 38 composers created the arrangements that are found in the game. This allows more tracks to be available for every stage. There were even compositions created that aren't based on a specific fighter or stage. They're just solid arrangements that add to the dense library as well as celebrate video games as a medium. A couple of these arrangements I would listen to over and over because they were so fun to listen to. I do miss having orchestral tracks, and I still have a huge soft spot for Melee's soundtrack, but it's a small price to pay for the quality and quantity we received. There are 258 tracks in this game. There's like 52 in Melee. Needless to say, it's a colossal jump. Some are available from the start, but you have to collect the rest either by collecting CDs that appear during matches or through challenges. With the large amount of songs comes a convenient way to choose which play during the game. My Music is one of my favorite additions to this game. You get the ability to choose how often a song plays during a match. If you fell in love with Checkered Knights, then you can make it the only song that plays on that stage. If you like your sanity, then you can turn off the only hand and bow track and play your own music. Some people consider Brawl to have the best soundtrack in the series, and I can see why. Future installments only build on top of what Brawl started. I probably wouldn't say it myself, again, I am a sucker for Melee's music, but it's definitely up there. Okay, what else we got? Well, trophies return, and they look so much better than their previous iterations. The descriptions for each trophy are very creative, and now we get up to 2 games they were previously in, as well as the system. Slight changes that make a big difference. This is all done through the trophy gallery, and man, this is so much nicer of an experience searching for trophies. Then there's Trophy Hoard, where you can admire the entirety of your collection. Within Trophy Hoard, you can set up your trophies of your choosing to take a picture and save it to your Wii. It's pretty bare bones, but I guess it's nice to have. If you want more trophies and you're in between matches, you can screw around in Coin Launcher. It's nothing crazy, but I'll take this over having to play a gacha game. Along with trophies, Brawl introduces stickers. They're mainly used as stat boosts for story mode, but they also serve as an additional way to represent different franchises across gaming. You can see more obscure characters this way. In that aspect, they're pretty cool. Otherwise, they're just stickers. Other than taking a photo with some of them, there's not much going on here. I was never really big on them, so I don't personally care. Getting a Teddy sticker never got me pumped up to find more. There's a stage builder, which is nice to see. Being able to create new ways to play the game through this mode is cool, but I was never a fan of it in Brawl. I found stage builder to be too limiting. Building materials are very basic, and I can't really do much once I put a few pieces down on the grid. Maybe it's the fact that I'm not very creative. Exhibit A. But I don't know, this isn't that great. What is great are the challenges. For clearing certain objectives, you get rewarded songs, stages, stage builder parts, stickers, and trophies. Some of them are a bit too specific, but a lot of them are very natural to unlock as you play the game. Another addition to Brawl that I love is the Chronicle. A collection of nearly every game from the NES to the early years of the Wii can be found here. I'm sure most people don't care about this dumb thing, but I love taking a look back at history, and being able to see when certain games were released always fascinated me. And if you wanted to check a couple of these games out, you could hop into Masterpieces and give them a try. I guess it's cool you can try these games out, but those time limits are brutal. I get that they have to sell the actual games through Virtual Console, or had to when the Wii shop channel was still in operation, but they could have at least stretched out the playtime across the board. By the way, while capturing footage, I started the Ocarina of Time Masterpiece, and it saved my progress from the last time I played from like 9 years ago. I got to see more of this game than I ever did before. I guess the time limit for this one isn't as bad. It's still bad for the rest of them. Then we have the album and replays. Taking screenshots isn't new to the series, but now you can take them during a regular match, no extra mode needed. And at the end of matches, you have the option to save a replay of the match if it wasn't longer than 3 minutes. I thought this was the coolest thing back then, and I still do now. My sister and I compiled a multitude of screenshots and replays from when we used to play the game, with a majority being from the first year we started playing. If you wanted evidence that I was very new to Smash when I first started playing Brawl, here's your proof. If I'm sitting here getting sentimental over bad gameplay, I couldn't imagine how some of you would feel if you looked back at your pictures and replays from 08 and 09. Do me a favor, and once we're done here, turn on your Wii and go down memory lane. See what time forgot. Special Brawl gives you the option to create an even more chaotic matchup by making everyone metal, invisible, super fast, and so on. Having everything under one umbrella is a nice improvement, and it's great to see new Brawl variants, even though the angled camera mode seems pretty pointless. Rotation created an easy way to swap out players when you have a large group wanting to play Brawl. I do have to wonder if people used this mode back in the day or they just stuck with the regular mode. I guess they could just do tournament mode, which makes a comeback from Melee. One of the big selling points of Brawl was online play. This was monumental since it marked the first time you can play a match against someone who wasn't in the same room as you. I never got to experience this since I didn't play Brawl until January 2015, and just 8 months before that, the Nintendo Wi-Fi connection service, basically what allowed online play for the Wii and DS, was shut down. I don't know for sure how good it was, but I'd imagine you were limited by everyone else's internet. It probably wasn't fun playing against someone who has some nasty dial-up internet. I should know. I had nasty dial-up internet in 2008. A quick aside, I don't understand why Sakurai thinks online Smash doesn't make sense. Sure, playing against a friend or a family member can be fun, but there's value to being able to play against more people that you're nowhere near, especially if you want to get better at the game. So the feature should be there. But I guess it wasn't meant to be successful back in 2008 when people had K-Mart internet. I should know. I had K-Mart internet in 2008. While multi-man brawl and home run contests are what you expect, Raid the Targets, now being called Target Smash, unfortunately isn't. Instead of having unique target stages for every character, there's 5 generic stages that everyone plays on. They're not terrible, they're just underwhelming. I almost forgot to mention this, but there's a boss rush mode here as well. All the bosses you know, love, and despise from the story mode, you can face them right here back to back. It's time to talk about Classic Mode. We go through 12 stages with bonus stages in between like Melee, but you face a similar set of characters every time. Like in stage 1, you always face a Zelda character on a Zelda stage, and stage 3 is always a Pokemon on a Pokemon stage. And the bonus stages are just the 5 target smash stages every character plays on. It's absolutely a step down from Melee, but it could be worse. You know the drill by now. Beat up your opponent, clear the stage, move on. You do have to take on 3 regular fighters before the final stage, which is different. I often hated doing this because it always resulted in walking into the final stage 1 stock less than what I wanted. Anyways, you end it all on Final Destination facing who else but Master Hand. And if you play on normal difficulty and get there in 9 minutes, then you face Master and Crazy Hand at the same time. Considering most of their moves are the exact same as before, it's not too challenging of a finale. As long as you have patience and you didn't get destroyed on stage 11, then you got this. The moment you all have been waiting for, it's finally time to talk about the Subspace Emissary. You remember Adventure Mode from Melee? Well, forget about it because Subspace absolutely eclipses it. For starters, there's an actual story here. Fighters are being turned back into trophies and a group of Robs led by the Ancient Minister are creating these black holes. Your job is to travel the world to bring an end to it. I know that was a very brief description, but there's so much going on here. It'll take all day to explain, and I don't want a headache trying to recall this story because it gets out there. There are unique pairings for each segment, and it's really interesting to see them play off of each other. Mario and Pit, Diddy and Fox, Pikachu and Samus, they develop connections with one another, whether it be a meek kid needing help from a trainer who's strong at heart, or two skilled swordsmen. Even if the story gets convoluted, I'll admit some of these cutscenes are sick. I remember my favorite scene being the one where they're all flying in their separate ships after the halberd was destroyed, and Kirby comes in with the Dragoon and takes out the imposing ship, all while the Brawl intro is playing. It's just as satisfying to watch now as it was back then. There is some deeper lore with Subspace, but other people have talked about it better than I could ever, and again, we don't have all day. With the gameplay, there's platforming, obstacles, and a ton of enemies. Some are unique to Subspace while others are pulled from other series. This is where stickers come into play. You stick a sticker onto your fighter and you're good to go. It's nice to have plenty to choose from, but there's a part of me that thinks there may be a bit too much. Can't forget to talk about the bosses. There are a few that are from other series like Rayquaza and Ridley, but there are some bosses that are original to Subspace. And this includes the final boss as well, Taboo. Probably one of the hardest bosses I ever had to face back then. I was certain a certain move that he does that covers the entire screen was completely unblockable and you just had to take the stock. I think I beat it that way, by the way. I don't know how I did, but I'm pretty sure I did. But yeah, beating some Butterfly Man isn't what I would expect from a story mode for a fighting game. And it's pretty lame that out of nowhere, Sonic just shows up and takes Taboo out like it was nothing. People tend to say Subspace is the best single player experience in the series due to the cutscenes and overarching story, but the gameplay can be a bit hit or miss with some. I'm sure some of you have some great memories with Subspace and really appreciate this substantial story mode in an already packed game. As for me, I don't really like Subspace.
Oh, you stink!
Yeah, I saw that coming. Okay, so to the two people who still want to listen to me after that statement, there is a lot that I love about Subspace, like the aforementioned cutscenes and the music, but I just can't stand the gameplay. The worlds that you explore in Subspace are super generic and boring. Maybe it'd be better if they pulled from other series like they did with Adventure Mode, but maybe that wasn't in the cards. In the later parts of Subspace, you have to look for all the fighters you unlocked and free them from the clutches of Taboo in the Great Maze. This was beyond unenjoyable. Having to backtrack through the levels and fight everyone again while trying to figure out if you're in the correct place or not in this dumb maze, for me, wasn't fun. It really tainted the experience. But to end on a more positive note, I'll give Sakurai and the team props for making such an ambitious story mode. I personally think it missed the mark, but it did give us some iconic moments that we can always look back on. Brawl released during an era of Nintendo when they were creating hardware and software for casual audiences. So you can say this game was made at the ideal time. It opened the door for millions to be introduced to this legendary series. Brawl sold 13.32 million units worldwide. It's the second highest selling Smash game and the 8th best selling game on the Wii. It obviously caught the eye of many people, hardcore and casual alike. But you do have to wonder what people's perception of the game was after a year, or 5 or even 10 years down the line. Sakurai wanted to create a more accessible Smash game, but I feel like this created more issues than it solved. As someone who grew up a casual gamer, I liked Brawl for a lot of reasons, but but I soon grew tired of the tripping, the slower speed, the floatiness, and the albeit cool but annoying story mode. When I would be having fun with a match or one of the other modes, there was always something that bugged me. It felt like 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. It's hard to come back to this game when other games in the series that took so much of what Brawl had just improve on everything. And they actually have online play. No K-Mart internet needed. Maybe. Even Melee in certain instances feels better to play. Granted, revisiting the game made me realize the immense amount of things added to it and how much nostalgia I have for the game. But it's not enough. I'm ranking Super Smash Bros. Brawl number 2 on my Smash Bros. Ranking list. Don't need to explain why it's better than 64, but with Melee, I just think it has the better core gameplay. Brawl has more going on, but I found Melee to be an overall better time to just play a Smash game than Brawl was. It was very close to call, but that's what I think. Now, just because there's stuff I hate about Brawl and it's hard for me to come back to, that doesn't mean I regret playing it. Revisiting the game reminded me why it was so easy to fall in love with the series. Yes, it's very, very flawed, but if Brawl didn't happen, then Smash would be so different today. Not to mention, this was my Smash experience on a home console when I didn't have a Wii U, so I got to see what it was like for people back in 2008 to enjoy Smash. Through the good and the bad, I have a lot of memories from this dumb game, and if the amount of screenshots and replays I have saved is any indication, there was some enjoyment. I'll always remember Super Smash Bros. Brawl for those times when I just wanted to unwind and play something simple. And maybe I'll remember to boot it back up one day to relive those simple times again. Well, that's all I got. Later.
Congratulations!